Night comes gently, not as a curtain dropped with haste, but as a breath, quieting after a long day. It comes in small hushes, the breeze softening among reeds, the last birds folding their wings, the warmth leaving a windowsill as though it has remembered somewhere else to be. In those first cool moments, when the horizon is a lingering violet and the fields begin to glimmer with dew, Selene lifts the reins of her silver chariot and begins. Her horses are pale as clouds, manes like threads of frost, hooves that do not strike nor spark, but pass in silence, as if galloping through memory. The wheels hum, a whisper more felt than heard. On her brow rests a crescent, fine as a hair. In her gaze, patient light. She knows the sleep of mortals and the ways hearts grow light in darkness. She knows how the world unclenches when the moon rises. Around her, the sky opens like a book turned to a familiar page. The first stars step forward, shy at first, then braver. They are quieter than the sun's loud certainty. They speak in murmurs and beckon the mind to wander slowly, as a child wanders the edge of a tide pool with bare feet and gentle awe. Selene rides among them with a tenderness like a hand smoothing linen. Below, the land breathes. There are roofs of clay, and roofs of thatch, and roofs of slate, all of them exhaling the day's heat while they cool. There are orchards that have gone still, their fruit shining softly like drowsy lanterns. There are sheep gathered in white constellations of wool upon the hills. The river is long and content, and the reeds bow as Selene passes, and the frogs begin to speak to one another. Low notes, steady, like a heartbeat the night can hear. Rest, Selene whispers, though there is no wind to carry the word. It travels in light instead, a silver embroidery that threads through shutters and over pillows and across the eyes of anyone who will receive it. Rest, says the moon, and the world listens. The sky awakens. The constellations stir to greet her. Orion lays down his bow, no longer the hunter, but a guardian who has closed his watchful eyes. The Pleiades gather like a cluster of giggles, hush now, into a drowsy closeness, small hands tucked into one another, a braid of sisterly calm. Cassiopeia sits on her chair, head tipped back, remembering what it is to be forgiven. Perseus folds his bright blade away, and Andromeda, with chains that glitter only in stories, drifts free among the stars, her hair a veil of darkness that Selene's light turns to a river. She passes them with a nod, as one greeting old friends who do not need words. They have arranged themselves for centuries, patient as stones in a garden, and when she glides by, they shimmer with the respect given to the one who keeps the night. Their old tales, the struggles and rescues, The rash vows and rescinded curses grow dim like embers beneath new snow. In their place rises something simple, the deep relief of safety, the joy of a sky that offers itself not to astonishment, but to calm. A comet appears, far off. No roaring fire, only a cool brushstroke, like a broom softly drawing itself across the firmament. Selene lifts one hand in blessing, and the comet inclines its long, bright head and continues on. Somewhere very distant, someone standing on a balcony shivers, not from cold, but from the beauty of seeing a slow light move, and that sensation, like a bell rung gently, follows the comet's tail. She could ride swiftly and reach the other side of the night in a snap of the reins, but haste is a thing for daylight. Instead, she lingers where the firmament is a pond, and the stars gather like silvery koi, interned with unhurried fins. If a thought arises in her, it is a soft one, to be the one who cools fevered brows, who finds the right pace for a tired mind, who pauses over the fields and lets the grain soak in quiet, to be, for a few hours, the keeper of the slow.
Beyond the mountains, the land loosens. Forests relax into fields. Fields drift into dunes. And then the sea begins, vast and patient. The tide tonight is in a mood to sigh, not to fling itself. Waves lift and lie down in long, even breaths. Selene guides her chariot lower, and the horses, seeing their reflection, prick their ears and splash through a seam of light without making a ripple. The sea loves the moon. It has always loved her. It does not clap or cheer. It does not kick up its heels. It simply rises to meet her and then returns to its place, over and over, the way a heart answers each beat. Dolphins turn on their sides to catch her glow across their flanks. A turtle, old as lullabies, comes up for air with the sort of sigh that empties the long day, silent, complete. Far below, where coral gardens open like prayer books, a school of fish drifts as one body, a mass of slow silver that flexes and loosens and glides in Selene's night. Nereids, the sea nymphs, appear without ceremony. There is no splash, no laughing chase. We simply are, hair trailing like kelp, eyes closed as though listening from the inside. They rest on rocks barely above the tide line, unbraiding the day. Selene knows every nymph by name, and she greets each with a light touch that leaves a bead of silver at the tip of a curl. They do not speak. The night has no wish to turn sound into ripple. Instead, the nymphs hum, and their hum is the note of a conch at a distance, something you feel in your chest more than hear with your ear. A gull far away and drowsy tucks its head into its feathers and yields itself to the rocking night. In a harbor, fishing boats sway at their movings, lines creaking, wood murmuring, necks dry like shawls, smelling of salt and stories. A cat on a coil of rope dreams of a fish too big to catch and does not mind. In sleep, the cat is satisfied to watch the fish drift by, scales gleaming like coin after coin dropped into a wishing well. Selene's light slides along the domed backs of the waves and then onto the broad shoulders of a lighthouse, whose keeper has set his lamp and gone to his chair with hands crossed. He is not fully asleep. He keeps the kind of vigil known to those who tend. Selene gives him a little more brightness, a gentleness in the glass, so that those at sea will find their way home even as their minds soften and sway. The sea's breath and the moon's pace match. In their rhythm, swimmers sleep without fear. In their rhythm, mothers, rocked by the lingering motion of the day, find that their bodies sway even holding still. In their rhythm, the world remembers that every swell is followed by a settling, and every settling makes way for another lift, and that no motion is angry tonight, only steady. Dreams of mortals. Selene turns inland again. Villages catch her glow like bowls left outside to collect rain. A temple's white columns drink her silver and give it back subdued, as if the stone itself were drowsy. She understands the mortar between these stones, how it holds. She understands the knotted stitches in the mat by a doorway. She understands the patience of those who keep small lights burning for long hours in case someone returns late. She passes a courtyard where a fig tree grows and a harp leans against a chair. The harpist has gone to bed without covering the strings. Selene's light touches them, and the night plays a breath-soft chord. Hardly a sound at all, only a suggestion of music, like a remembered lullaby. A woman whose heart has worried all day hears the faint brush of harmony and feels her thoughts gather as a flock gathers to perch on one branch. They stop fluttering. She goes to sleep without bargaining for morning. There is a window where a candle gutters beside a letter. The letter is small, turned at an angle, written in a careful hand. Selene's light doesn't pry. It doesn't read. It lays itself over the page, and if the words are sharp with regret, the edges soften. If the words are full of unspent love, the ink darkens as if it's been freshly written, and the recipient, far away in another house, shifts in sleep and feels the warmth of a name. A child on a pallet listens to the sound their father makes when his breath catches at the end of each exhale. The child has been afraid that this catching means something is wrong, that perhaps the breath will not come back. Selene leans low, the crescent on her brow gleaming like a smile's first and quiet's curve, and she lets her light fall across both. The father's breathing steadies, smooths, like waves finding their long rhythm after a crowded day at shore. The child presses their cheek into the straw and rides the breath
as if it were a boat across a lake, to a far-off islet where a gentle, sleeping animal waits with its head on its paws. She wanders the lanes like a guest who knows where not to look. In a baker's house, flour lies like a faint snowfall on the table. The baker, dreaming of tomorrow's dough, turns and turns the softness of it in his sleep, his hands forming a roundness that will shape itself at dawn. In the potter's yard, a bowl on the shelf holds a little pooled moon. A cat drinks from it and forgets to be careful. It spills a line of silver on the step and then curls into itself with the deep satisfaction of having taken in the night and made it part of its bones. A young traveler lies in an inn, knapsack for a pillow. She has walked far. Her legs feel as though two kindly rivers had taken residence within them, still moving while she lies still. She does not know yet whether she is moving towards home or away from it. Her dream is a winding road through olive groves and stone fences. Selene, in passing, lays a ribbon of light along the dream's road, and the traveler finds, without searching, a place to sit, a flat warm stone, and a pitcher of water, and a slice of bread with oil, and the sight of a small bird bathing in dust. She eats, drinks, watches, and is permitted for a little while to desire nothing.
In another house, an old man has grown thin among his books. He leans back with the last of a candle's flame, remembering the precise tilt of a dear head that once bent over these same pages. He fears that sleeping, he will forget the exact angle. Selene paints the head's tilt in light on the wall across from his chair, so that when he shuts his eyes and the candle dies, the image remains, not haunting, only faithful, like a companion who sits in darkness and is content to be recognized by touch. The night is a village and a countryside and a harbor and a mountain and a field and a path. The night is 100,000 windows, and behind each, a person with a day's worth of living exhausted in their muscles or minds. Selene does not tell any of them to be different. She tells them to enter the soft room that has always been theirs, the one with the bed against the wall and the smell of clean linen and the steady beats of their own blood in their own ears. She is not the maker of sleep, she is its usher. Endymion. Beyond a cluster of olive trees, beyond a low wall, beyond a meadow where moths pass under her light like drifting ash, lies a small hillside where a shepherd rests. There is a cave here, easy to overlook. A twig has learned to grow in an S to reach the light at its mouth. The shepherd sleeps within, his face turned just as it has always been turned, timeless and young, not because he clings to youth, but because he sits forever in the first good hour of it. Endymion. The ones who speak of him tell many versions, as mortals do when they love something they cannot hold. Selene does not argue with any of them.
She does not guard the truth as though it were a flame in a wind. She simply arrives as she has arrived every night and lets her presence be what it is. She steps from her chariot. The horses, understanding, lower their heads and stand in a hush so complete that a lizard tiptoeing across a rock seems noisy by comparison. Selene enters the cave as a cool draft would on the soles of lights. Endymion sleeps. He does not sleep as a man felled by exhaustion. He sleeps like the surface of a lake before the first pebble of morning is tossed into it. His lashes lie on his cheek. His hands are lax. His mouth is neither smiling nor frowning, but simply resting, as though it has trusted the world for this hour. On his chest, a curl of hair has been lifted and laid down by his own breath 1,000,000 times. Selene gazes and feels no hunger that bites, no ache that burns. What she feels is the map of a long love that people have misnamed as yearning, when it is something else, attendance. She kneels. The cave welcomes her with its cool, its smell of earth and stone, its quiet, fabricated by layers of time. She lays her hand a distance above his brow, not touching, honoring the sanctity of sleep. The light from her palm pours like water that never spills. It moves over Endymion's temples, down the small valley at the base of his throat where a pulse beats. It makes his skin a pale constellation. "Sleep," she says, and her voice is not a sound that would startle. It is the condensation that forms on a glass left in night air. Sleep, not as escape, but as homecoming. Here is the country with no walls. Here is the meadow with no gate. Outside, a sheep bells. It is not a lonely sound, only a soft mark in the dark, the way a far buoy announces itself with the note now and then, not crying for rescue, but telling the sea where it is. Selene remains for a long while, but long is not a meaningful word where Endymion is. Time here is a hammock hung between two trees that do not measure distance. She stays until the certainty returns to her that she is carrying light enough for everyone who waits for her across the valleys and the roofs and the seas. She stands. She goes. As she steps out, a small wind brushes past her and into the cave, a child's hand slipping from a mother's and then returning, all within the space of a thought. Selene smiles. Her chariot receives her as if she had never left. She lifts the reins, and night continues.
It is the hour when night is oldest and wisest. The owls have had their fill of watching. The crickets have found their tempo. The lake has accepted not to be crossed. In kitchens, kettles cool with the flattened, rested metal smell. In barns, hay sighs as it settles under its own softness. Those who had to wake in the dark for work, bakers shaping, midwives walking, guards pacing, have made, delivered, and circled without complaint. Even their steps sound rounded and kind. Selene moves through this hour with the carefulness one uses to return a sleeping infant to its cradle. She sees what must be dimmed and dims it. She sees what has dimmed too much and gives it a small bead of light. She slows where minds are still running and walks on where minds have already arrived and are waiting peacefully for her to catch up. A poet turns over in bed, and the line he could not finish quits trying to be magnificent and is content to be true. A soldier on leave dreams a green field with no flags. In the dream, he lies on his back and lets his sword arm grow heavy, so heavy that it sinks into the earth and becomes a root, and the root draws water and grows a small white flower. A woman whose hands are always busy wakes just enough to realize they are empty, and the emptiness is joy. And she lets sleep take her again like a river taking back a canoe. A young mother rises to tend a child whom mews only once. The child, touched by moonlight across the cheek, remembers the quiet that cradled them before birth and returns to it. And the mother stands in the doorway between rooms and breathes, and then returns too. Up above, the constellations gaze down, as if watching a village square that belongs to them all. They remember, if stars can be said to remember, how the first mortals looked up and guessed at shapes, drawing heroes and beasts and stories between points of light. They are humbled by this, the way a face is humbled when it realizes it has been loved from far away. They put on their gentlest brightness, not to boast, but to be easily found by those who need them to be where they have always been. Selene gathers the night's loose ends, a dream that strayed from its dreamer and could not find its way back, a hushed wish that needs a place to rest, a grief whose edges have been shaven by tears and seeks a smooth shelf to lie upon. She holds them all and gives them not solutions or sentences, but breath. In breath, there is mercy. In mercy, room. At last, the E scrolls a rim of color so thin it could be the outline of a shell. It is not day yet, but it is the promise of day, a faint shade between blue and no color, a suggestion of warmth. Selene's horses, who have learned the earth's hours by heart, lower their pace of their own accord. Their manes trail, their shoulders gleam with the light they have carried, and their hooves place themselves more carefully as if stepping across the backs of sleeping birds. Selene looks back over the path she has taken, though it leaves no mark. She sees not with eyes, but with a sense like taste, the places she has passed, the mountain's silver rim, the slow, even pulse of the sea, the lantern outside the shepherd's hut, the lullaby of a stream, the sleeping boy with the cloud fleece, the letter with darkened ink, the baker's imagined dough, the potter's bowl with the sip of moon, the cat who has taken in light, the traveler on the stone, the old man and his faithful shape on the wall, Endymion's cave with its pulse like a soft drum. She does not count these as victories. The night is not a race with the day. It is a hand placed alongside it.
She understands how the sun must arrive, bright and insistent, full of the world's lists and needs and sproutings and shouts. She does not resent the sun its vigor. She remembers that people laugh in daylight, and laughter is its own kind of healing. She is content to set the stage and to withdraw. Still, there is a last work to do, a last note to sound before the symphony turns from adagio to allegro. Selene leans down and finds the gardens, the orchards, the fields. She combs her light through dew so that morning will find its pearls arranged. She settles the last restless mind with the kiss, not of lips, but of calm. She leaves a border of coolness along the roads so that those who must rise early will feel, on their first step, that they walk not alone. At the harbor, she lays a sheet of white across the water's edge, a bandage for the night's little scuffs and scrapes. At the mountain, she folds back a corner of her light like a blanket left turned for someone rising later. At Endymion's cave, she adds nothing and takes nothing away. There is a perfection there that needs no hand. The east rises from promise to pledge. Colors begin to consider themselves. Pale apricot, diluted rose, the sort of yellow you can hear. Birds try their first notes, each testing the key as though tuning for a very old song they still remember. Selene's horses pick up their feet. The sky behind her deepens into that last, rich blue that is both night's farewell and day's welcome. Her chariot, light as a sigh, turns its wheels toward the place where the moon goes when mortals look away. Sleep, she says again to those who can linger. Wake softly, she says to those who must rise. Carry what is light, she adds to those who load themselves too heavily. She says these things not because she expects to be obeyed, but because saying them sets them into the weave of the world, a thread mortals may catch when their fingers find it. Selene thinks of the word enough. It is the word of closing eyes, of a door that shuts without slamming, of a bowl filled to just the right brim. Enough day, now night. Enough night, now day. Not too little, not too much. If the world can be taught that word, then it can rest. She is one of its teachers. The moon does not disappear so much as become the part of light that is quiet. She does not resign, she recedes. As the sun lifts its bright head over the rim of the world, Selene yields the stage with no jealousy, as a musician steps back after a solo so that another's theme can rise. She leaves bits of herself as she goes, the pale half-moon after image that lingers on a closed eyelid, the cool on the inside of a wrist that meets morning water, the memory of silver when someone sees a white cloth shaken and hung. In the village with the fig tree and the harp, the first person up pauses because the air seems stroked. In the harbor, a fisherman ties a knot with the calm he did not expect to have. He thinks of his child, whose breath he listened to all night, and he smiles and does not say why. In the shepherd's hut, the boy wakes with the sense that someone kind has passed near his door. He will find his lambs easily today, and he will not hurry. In the cave, Endymion sleeps and will sleep, and in that sleep there is a gift the waking world often forgets, the knowledge that being is allowed without doing. Among the constellations, there is contentment, the drowsy pride of a choir that has sung through the night and is not cracked on a single note. The sea, in full morning, remembers the moon's hand and will lift a little more gently for a few hours. The mountains keep their polished rims long enough for shepherds to point and nod and say, "It was beautiful last night," and to mean as they say it, that they feel steadier. Selene retires to her own softness, the white, the silver, the dark. If you ask where that is, a scholar might point to an orbit, a curve, a path described by mathematics. If you ask a child, they may tell you it is behind the mountain, or under the sea, or in the pocket of the east where light's hem is stitched. Selene would not disagree with either answer. She knows that home is the place one goes to refill what has been poured and to listen for the next hour's needs. She closes her eyes, though closing is not the right word. It is more that she lets light let go. She breathes, though breath for her is not inhalation, but a widening of space in which others can breathe. She listens to the after sounds of the night, the last cricket, the final rustle, the glide of the wind withdrawing its hand from the tree's hair. She rests because resting is part of her keeping. A blessing for the listener. If in the night you have listened to this journey, if you have ridden with her above mountains and seas, and paused at huts and windows, and slipped into a cave where a shepherd sleeps forever, then you have been moving, and you have also been held. You have watched, and you have also been watched over. Selene would like you to know this. You are allowed to be slow. You are allowed to be quiet. You are allowed to feel the weight leave you, one small clasp at a time, like unhooking a cloak after rain. You are allowed to set down what you picked up in haste. There is room here, and there is time, and you are in neither debt nor danger, not now. Let your breath be the tide. Let your thoughts be the moths passing without needing to land. Let your body be the field under moonlight. Nothing demanded, everything received. If a memory arises, lay it down on the step like the potter spilled silver. If a hope appears, let it warm its hands at the lighthouse and wait. If a fear returns, seat it on the stone beside the traveler and give it bread until it is no longer shop with hunger. Sleep, Selene says, and her voice is the sound of dew deciding where to be. Sleep, and let sleep be not hiding, but arriving. Sleep, and know that the world, which is so busy with its blazing, has also given itself this other room, the slower room, this room of enough. And when the edge of morning becomes a band, and the band becomes a ribbon, and the ribbon becomes an opening door, and you must move your limbs and name yourself aloud, and remember what is yours to carry, Selene will set a coolness in your palm and a small light on your brow. You may not notice it first. You will wash your face and tie your laces and take a cup and not remember. And then mid-morning, when the day's bright chorus is loud and wonderful, you will feel a thread through it, a quiet thread, and you will know that it is not only the sun that keeps you, but something gentler, something that knows the pace of your own heart. Tonight, she will ride again. The horses will not tire because they have learned to go without straining. The wheels will not squeal because they have learned to turn like pages. The constellations will wait, the sea will lift and settle, mountains will stand, windows will open, and behind each window there will be a human face, with all that a human face carries and hides. She will pass, and you will dream, and the dream will be kind. Close your eyes. The moon is out. The night knows your name and will hold it safely. Sleep now. Selene's traveling.